Wasn't expecting to be back here so soon. I'm at St Michael's Church at Llanfihangel-y-traethau in the county of Gwynedd in Wales. I was only here a couple of days ago and I posted the video because there's 3 notable graves in this cemetery. Since I posted that video, I've received some information from a viewer, which is rather interesting. Today I'm looking for the grave of Michael Byrne, known as Micky Byrne. In 1946 he saved the life of a 15-year-old Audrey Hepburn. Last time I didn't show you the inside of the church. If you've watched the previous video I made here, you'll know that Jackie Kennedy attended the funeral here in 1985. She would presumably have been sitting quite close to the front here, and she was with Ted Kennedy and other senior members of the Kennedy family. Go and check out the video if you want to know more about that. It's hard to summarise the life of Micky Byrne. He was a bisexual former Nazi sympathiser who turned communist. He was a war hero who took part in the most daring raid of World War II. He met President Roosevelt, Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler. He actually met Adolf Hitler twice. He was also a former Colditz prisoner, a journalist, a poet, a playwright and a peace advocate. And on top of all that, he saved the life of Audrey Hepburn. I'll show you some of the graves here whilst I tell you about the life of Micky Byrne. Michael Clive Byrne was born on the 11th of December 1912 in London, England. He dropped out of college to be a writer. In the 1930s he was an admirer of National Socialism and Adolf Hitler. And in 1936 he was a journalist for the Times and he met Adolf Hitler in Germany. Adolf Hitler gave him a signed copy of his book Mein Kampf, but Micky Byrne lost the book on the same day after it fell through a hole in his car. Adolf Hitler invited him to attend a Nazi party rally at Nuremberg, and he stood only a few feet away from Hitler at the event. During the same trip, he was invited to visit the newly opened Dachau concentration camp, and it was at this point that Micky Byrne started to come to his senses. During World War II he was a commando and he volunteered to take part in high-risk operations. In March 1942 he took part in a daring attack on the port of Saint-Nazaire in France. The operation was known as Operation Chariot. The operation was meant to damage the port as there was an important dry dock there. The raid was successful, but there were many casualties. Micky Byrne took a prominent part in the attack and most of his troop were killed or captured early on.
Despite being injured, Micky Byrne managed to reach his assigned target, the only member of his team to do so. As he attempted to escape, he was captured and was filmed by a Nazi cameraman. Footage of his capture would later appear in Nazi propaganda reels, where they claimed that the raid was a failure. One person who saw the propaganda reel was Baroness Ella von Hemstra, who lived in occupied Holland. She recognised Micky Byrne as she had a brief affair with him when she lived in London. Via the Red Cross, she was able to send him a food parcel in Colditz prison. After the war, things were particularly bad in Holland because of a lack of food. Ella van Hemstra wrote to Micky Byrne asking if he could send her cigarette packets for her to sell, in order for her to buy penicillin for her seriously ill daughter. Micky sent her hundreds of cigarettes, and sometime later she thanked him for saving her daughter's life. Her daughter would later be known to the world as the movie star Audrey Hepburn.
There's a very old grave here which I failed to show you last time. There's a grave marker here that dates back to the 1100s, 1170 I think. Somewhere on it mentions that the church was built during the time of King Owain Gwynedd, also known as Owain the Great. Sorry to give you half the story, but I think the person that was buried here was responsible for establishing the church here.
Just a quick thank you to Michael, who contacted me to let me know that Michael Byrne was buried in this cemetery.
Now, after seeing the message from Michael, I tried to verify that Michael Byrne was actually buried here. And I did find a record of the funeral being held here for him. I've located the gravestone. It's not what I was expecting. It's actually a plaque against the wall. So I'm guessing maybe he was cremated and the funeral service was held here afterwards. And so I'm presuming that it's a cremation grave, but if anybody knows any difference, please let me know. And here's the plaque. Micky Byrne, MC, 1912 to 2010. Commando, author, poet, husband to Mary. Now there's a documentary about Micky Byrne that was released in 2012, and it was directed by Glenn Oliver, who also co-directed the documentary about Lemmy Kilminster of Motorhead. The documentary was filmed in 2008 and 2009, whilst Micky Byrne was still alive. I've only seen little clips of it, but he seemed like a very likeable person. Quite funny actually. I've been limited in my ankles in this video because my brolly keeps blowing out. There you go, that's what my brolly looks like. Like I say, I'm presuming it's a cremation grave, but if anybody knows any difference, please let me know.
Micky Byrne did meet Audrey Hepburn on one occasion prior to the start of World War II. She must have been around 10 at the time. Micky Byrne had a very long life. He outlived Audrey Hepburn.
Micky Byrne had been living in the village of Minffordd in Wales for decades. On September the 3rd, 2010, he passed away in his sleep after suffering a stroke. Micky Byrne lived to be 97 years of age.